So I came on here because I was meditating and I was encouraged by my spirit to share because I feel every time I swallow, there's this lump in my throat. And there's definitely a difference between certain physiological things that come up in your body, certain sicknesses or a pulled muscle, etc., which is connected energetically to your spirit, but there's also energetic blockages, and definitely feels like the throat is energetic. And in the energy, if you're talking about the centers within the body, the throat chakra is communication and calling. So your calling in this life and your devotion. And if any aspect of that is blocked and I feel a need to talk, then it will help release, unwind the blockage itself. I don't know what I'm going to say, so I'm just going to talk because that is what will help. This is my first time doing this. I've seen others do this where they just talk and it gets out. It's like, have you seen the book, The Artist's Way? Have you read that? Where any type of artistic block, the book encourages you to write in the morning. You just write your thoughts, get all sort of the jumble out, and then it frees you up into a center of peace where you can find creativity and access to it. Or don't quote me, I don't know if that's the exact way it happens, but the writing is the important part. So basically just getting everything out there, which is basically what this is. And I've just said basically twice. I'm nervous, sort of. I'm talking to myself until anyone sees this, which won't be many, so that's a good thing. So the blockage, right. Okay, so we are my calling. So I started in the insurance industry. That was not my calling. I knew that from the get-go, but a job was a job at the time. And I saw how inspired and creative other people were. And I did enjoy certain aspects of it. And I enjoyed meeting people, and there were some creativity things that, but it wasn't the basis of the job. And the basis of the job was something that I was not a good match for. So plugged it out, just kind of like, I don't know what that means, plugged it out. I say a lot of random stuff because I do know those sayings people say, but I remember half of one and half of another, so I just put them together. Anyways, I jogged it out, plugged it out, I don't know. Pretty much close to a decade. And then I was done, like capital done. So I went back to school, joined on a horticultural team and learned about plants. But I've always been into plants, so that was a nice break from the corporate world and movement with my body, which I was told the other day is my primary mode of communication. Like English isn't my first language, which I love. I love thinking about it that way because sometimes I do struggle with words, and like movement is an easier way to express something for me. And I have a dance background, which some people will be like, oh, of course, because you have a dance background. It's like, no, I don't think it works that way. I think the dance training I did was very stoic and staccato in its teachings, and that it wasn't the right kind of dance. But sure, it dabbled in the movement of the body as a way of communication. So yes, it was an avenue that I could have branched out into my true calling, which I truly feel is the communication of movement. but I am still working through certain blockages that are feeling like they hinder my joy to do something, or my creative interest to do something. I'm concerned that my lack of inspiration to teach people to move is just coming from the old paradigm of, oh, well, I have to teach them this way, and I have to be this like dictatorial teacher, and I can easily fall into that type of role, and I don't like that. But there's a certain benefit to structure and lattice, and then there's a lot of freedom once you have that. So similar to ballet training, which I've had extensively, you do need a foundation of something in order to move into the contemporary forms of dance, in my belief. Having said that, I mean, there's many amazing, beautiful, strong dancers that did not start with ballet, that were able to and are able to move their bodies in a way that is so beautiful, with such gorgeous lines, and they're more like a calisthenics type of foundation. But I guess the premise is there's a foundation there. There's something there. So the foundation that I have is not, it's there, but it's not necessarily the right foundation to grow from. I feel like more exploratory nature into the calisthenics would be beneficial for me. So I should do that. The fact that I'm saying that, I should do that. And it's just this lump, like it's like, and it doesn't feel like a sickness, and there's nothing in my nasals, there's nothing. I don't have to prove to you that I'm not sick, but I'm trying to explain how the energetics of a blockage is different from a physical 3D version of a blockage within your body, and how it feels. But I think it feels different to everybody, so maybe I'll stop describing that. The words I'm saying, if I can follow the words that will help loosen the blockage, I actually feel like it's getting worse. Okay, trial and error. This is my first time doing this. And yeah, we're at 7 minutes, like WTF. Okay, I'm just gonna take a minute. What is in my heart that needs to be said? It's interesting. I so want to, and have always wanted to, communicate with spirit, and I have a friend who said you already do, which I understand that, but I want the verbal communication. Why do I want the verbal communication when verbal English, verbal in 3D is not my first language? That's interesting. Okay, that just came up. So why am I craving something that I've been trained to think is communication, when I know within my body that I get communication without the verbal, and yet I'm wanting spirit to give me verbal communication? That's very interesting. That loosened my throat a bit. That's nice. So it's possible that spirit just is trying to say, look, honey, you don't speak English. So we're not going to do that. And I need to move my focus for communicating with spirit more directly into my movement. I do need to shift my focus from thinking I can hear and speak directly, which I can, but I've also heard that it's a limited version of communication. It limits, the words themselves can limit the interpretation and the depth of what they're trying to say, or even you're trying to say back. And so why am I keeping trying to limit myself in that way? Which also ballet is very limiting, created by a bunch of men, let me tell you. Which, yes, men do ballet, but 99% of ballet dancers are women, forced into very extreme measures of what is considered beauty. And I have to admit, I still enjoy those lines. I still view that as beautiful to some extent. I still judge those that don't fall into the size that it would take to make those lines, which is such bullshit. I struggled with those size. I had eating disorders to try to fit into what some girls just naturally grew up with, could eat pizza and would show up to the academy. It was absolutely no problem. And I was, sufficing on cabbage, steamed cabbage, literally. My feces started turning green. Steamed cabbage and what was that drink? It wasn't necessarily like a protein drink. It was much lighter than that, but it was like an electrolyte drink. And that's what I would have during the day. Now, it was a very small period of time I went that extreme. Also tried to be bulimic, which my body did not like. And so I opted for extreme restriction. There's that restriction again. And that restriction was on my body. The restriction of the classical dance would be on the body. And here I am trying to restrict my communication with spirit into verbal when the freedom of the body, perhaps because I feel restricted within the body. I don't know. These are lots of things to ponder sometimes. Sometimes pondering this with a glass of wine would be better. I rarely drink nowadays, which would make one like 6 ounce like a really fun time. There's benefit to not drinking because, yeah. All right, let's stay focused here. I think the biggest takeaway right now, if I had to shut it down at 13 minutes, would be the spirits wanting me is very open to direct communication, more ability to have a back and forth dialogue, but it is less verbal based. That's what I'm getting from this. I was going to say diarrhea of a monologue, but hey, this is for me and for those who wish to sit with a glass of wine and enjoy it. I'm not encouraging drinking. Tea is great. So is coffee. I enjoy coffee. The sweetness of it. Yeah, okay. So the sweetness, I used to put sweetener in my coffee, hazelnut, coffee cream. And then I had to purify my diet a little bit more. And it started very slow, but in working with spirit, you don't just have to purify your mind. Like if you've got a lot of like negative thinking and stuff like that, it's harder to connect with spirit. Well, same with eating. If you've got a lot of negative stuff in your body, it's harder to understand what they're saying and get like a direct communication. You get what my friend calls interference, like just crap. You get crap. So it's all about what you put out to get what you get in, and so I did start with removing that. It was the amount of sugar I had in my diet, and I removed it slowly and went to, what did I go to? Oh, just milk for a little bit. resentfully, but then you get over it. I'm a grown up. And my desire to connect with spirit was bigger than my desire for hazelnut coffee cream. Now, could I have said that 5 years ago? Probably not. It would have been 50-50. Anyway, so now I'm at black coffee, and there's a joy to the bitterness. But the sweetness, if I'm going to connect it back to movement and dance, would be the sweetness that is put and layered on top in classical dance. Like, it can be extremely painful, extremely arduous, extremely athletic in every way. Flexibility, endurance, stamina, all of those things. And yet, there's no expression of that. It is a very, fake, actually, version of athleticism, because you're not truly aligned with your you're not fully aligned with your body. You're in tune with your body to some extent because you're allowing it and making it do, and you're training it to do these extreme things that the average Joe wouldn't be able to do, but with a smile on your face when you're not actually feeling like smiling is like fake. So you're not fully aligned. No wonder it's the raw expression of movement in order to connect with spirit. It's like taking coffee cream sweetener and expecting to get the dialogue back and forth. Now, don't get me wrong. I've gotten messages all throughout my life. I think everybody has, quite frankly. Like, poof, you get a song in your head and you're like, where did that come from? Or you get some kind of thought form, or in a dream you get something come up. There's a million ways that humans get connection, but it's sporadic. And I'm wanting the partnership, the co-creation, the thing that, apparently they're always here, and not apparently, I do know, the consciousness, our consciousness is here, spirit is here, always, in all ways. I get that, but the human brain aspect of me gets a little sarcastic with it and expects, okay, let's just recenter. I'm going off on a tangent. Okay, so we're going back to connecting with spirit through movement. I'm very visual. That is something. In high school, there was this fine arts high school where you majored in 2 artistic movements, not movements, but categories. So my major was dance and my minor was visual arts. So I do get pictures and visuals from spirit, and that's been a modality that has worked mostly. I rarely get words. So it's like path of least resistance. Come on, like let's move down the easier path. I guess I'm just trying to link the difference between feeling the lump in my throat is actually smaller now. I just swallowed. It's still there, but it's smaller. So we trying to link the connection between seeing visuals and movement. I don't always want to say dance because I could, but movement is it, because sometimes the category dance, people think, oh, I'm not a dancer. It's like, I think every human has some form of movement that is innate and beautiful to themselves, and I think that dance can restrict people's opinion of themselves and think they're lesser than, and I don't think that's true at all. I wonder if visuals that I get from spirit are a precursor to the movement. or that when you're watching dance, you're using your eyes, you're visually seeing it. So maybe there's a connection. I'm just gonna sit for a minute. Like, I know I need to get on the water. I've got a kayak and I've got a paddle and I got a life jacket. That's key. And I've got a little like trolley cart thing that I can put my kayak on. I haven't tried, I mean, I've got the kayak out on the water before in the winter, but I haven't tried the cart. I'm a little nervous. It'll be fine. But it's just some new gear, which is exciting. And so they show me that. So the purpose of me saying that is they show me like a visual, like a flash of being on the water. It's like, okay, I know I need to go on the water. But how would that visual connect to movement except the movement of the kayak? There's something deeper there that I can't quite get at. I like to lift my chin when I feel my throat tighten because it moves the energy up into the focus of the chin chakra, which would be trust and transformation. Trusting what I get, trusting the communication that I get, and trusting my calling, which is something to do with supporting, I was gonna say supporting humanity. That sounds a bit too like, ooh. Not supporting, just being me with movement as a large part of my, I don't even want to say purpose, as a day-to-day calling, as a service, as a, I don't want to say job, but as a offering, movement as an offering, as my contribution to a community, as what I do, as my life, as my calling, as my inspiration, as my creativity. And that is something that I've hesitated going into because, okay, so I've hesitated going into moving into a calling with movement because of not the movement per se, of helping clients. You hold the mantle of responsibility of helping these people, and that is a dharma from what I went through as a child, which was extreme violation and being forced to hold others' responsibility. And in leaving the healing, not leaving, I went through hell and back, healing the victim mentality and coming into an empowerment as a healer, as a novice healer, and then turning around to offer holding responsibility of others is a resistance that I am working through right now, because there's an aspect of me that fears, I don't even know where I'm looking. I think I've been looking at the camera the whole time, but you're probably looking at that dot over there. Anyways, I'm gonna keep looking at the camera. So just imagine we're actually doing eye contact. Look, I just avoided it. There's a resistance in me to agreeing to take responsibility of others on a healing journey, because there's a fear in me that it is similar to being forced into taking others' responsibility as a victim. And I mentally understand that, a part of me mentally understands that there's a difference, a huge difference. And I have much stronger boundaries now. Oh, there's that ball. It's back again. I don't know which way to go. I don't know if I should keep talking about the movement, or if I should keep talking about helping, about the taking responsibility of others, or the movement. So, taking responsibility of others, taking on that mantle with boundaries, with knowing that there's a time and a place where you open yourself up as a healer, a novice healer, or as a healer. Actually, I've been through over 50 hours, actually no more than that. And through the training program, through Wildflower Fire. So I have the credentials to do it, and it is to look at that. You hold those boundaries of, this is the time I'm offering to assist, and then you close those so that you can do the other jobs, which is participate in the family and help with the aspects of being a mother of children. And so I'm just trying to reiterate the safety and structure that is there for me to not be forced to take anyone's unhealthy responsibility of their own shit. It is to, it's the definition of responsibility. What am I taking on and what am I not taking on? I'm gonna have to look into that with more detail. Because as a healer, you don't take on, you're not empathetic, you're compassionate. Empathy has no boundaries, compassion does. So you don't step into their shoes. You can for a little bit, but you absolutely have to pull out in order to have an objective view of what their healing offerings could be for them specifically. So you cannot be an empathic healer and say that you can objectively heal people. That doesn't, and you're not healing, you're assisting in the conduit of healing to occur within somebody. You're assisting the awareness to open, you're assisting the exposure of hidden emotion, you're holding space for the healing to occur. That is all. You are not taking on people's karma. You are not taking on people's additional time if it affects your time and it intrudes in your private time, private life. You are not offering without an even equivalent balance in return, whether it be a trade or payment. And quite frankly, payment is the way to go. Healers are the same as any other service. They're much deeper and much more complex with the depths that they can offer to a person. But a service is a service, and that is an equal exchange of value. So That's interesting. How's my throat now? Okay, so there's the equal exchange of value is something to explore and to talk about, because obviously as a victim of assault, there was no equal exchange of value. I shouldn't even be smiling, like that's a coping mechanism. And it was unequivocally unbalanced, out of balance, out of health, out of alignment. And it wasn't even a responsibility that anyone needs to take on ever, let alone a child. So equal exchange of value is another structure that goes within the modality of my calling, of what needs to occur, of what is in me to give. It doesn't need to occur, except it needs to come out of me, because it is a calling. I don't know if that makes sense. Dare I swallow and see how big this lump is? Okay, let's see. Well, it's there, still there, present. Okay, so where do we go now? Like, what do we talk about now? We do equal exchange of value. We talked about movement with communication. Okay, let's just go back to, let's circle back. I thought it was funny with the amount of COVID jokes that happen where your spouse is at home and you're like, I never knew he was this let's circle back type of guy. All that office jargon that you don't necessarily hear from your spouse until you're put in a confined area and having to deal with all aspects of who they are, from the work to the private life, to just, you know, him and I, or you guys wanting personal space too, your own personal version of who you are. It's funny. All right, let's circle back to movement. So movement with communication, movement with communication, movement with communication. Sometimes repeating it helps me stay on track. And I'm self-conscious of people watching, although at 32 minutes, I doubt anybody is watching. Just me. It's just me. Movement with communication. Communication through movement. Communication through movement. And there's so many women that are doing amazing things out there right now with movement through, or communication through movement. I wish I remembered her name, but she talks about, she's like about like the power that women hold, and she teaches them how to hold that in dynamics in the world, mostly with men, to ensure that they are standing their ground, and if not dominating the space. And it's about body posture, and it's about presence, and how they ask the question, and not sort of like backing away from that masculine, like show up in a room and feel like they own the room type of shit. And it's inspiring. It's beautiful. I really wish I could remember her name. She's on Instagram, and she does these courses, and she does amazing things. And it's strong. It's very strong. But in the arc of healing, especially within women, there's a place, a time and a place to learn strength and domination of your space that you occupy in the office and in the grocery store, and meeting someone unexpectedly that you wish you didn't have to run into, and or seeing an ex, or seeing one of your spouse's exes, or another girlfriend that you never really got along with, and yet you had to pretend to be nice. Like, there's a time and a place to learn how to not attack, not verbally go at it, but to have a stance, have a presence, have an energetic field around you that dominates your space. You have every right. You're not dominating them, you're holding and dominating your space. And she teaches that. And then but that's just one point in the arc. And another point would be, and this isn't in order by any shape or, what's that saying? By any means or shape, by any shape or means. I told you, I like sayings, but I don't know them all. I just kind of jingle them up. That wasn't right either. Okay, so the other part, one of the other aspects of the arc would be anger and the expression of that, the suppressed anger, the collective feminine suppressed anger, which is talked about a lot these days when you see other versions of people experiencing victimization in a way that is unfair, and it triggers you, whether you've been victimized or not. It triggers you. There's some aspect of the feminine, being a spirit in a feminine body, period, is like you take on certain generic collective programming where the suppression of the feminine voice is within you. So the rage and the expression of that is so healthy on the arc of healing. And the like, that's like Kali energy. It's like rage, and you're gonna get stronger, and you're just gonna well, it is a version of dominating, but it's different. It's the anger coming out. It's the burning, the fields are burning everything because it's sick, like it's diseased, it's wrong, and you want to just tear it all down and start from the ground up, from the healthy roots. So there's that, and you're seeing that in the world today. So there's that as an arc. But I feel, and I don't know if my calling is to, it's definitely not to stay in any one of these points on the arc. Or perhaps it's to teach women to move through that arc. And it's not linear. You may have to dodge around a bit, but it's still overall an arc if you kind of zoom out more. And the other aspects are, there's grief, and there's others. I don't need to go into all that. I just have been, this has been interesting. This has been an experiment to see if what I say will help release the blockage within my throat that needs to unwind, that needs to release, that needs to be let out. Communication within movement, the movement of communication, the communication of movement, the movement of communication. It's like I have a whole set of keys, and I'm just trying the different keys, and I'm trying to find the right key that fits the box, because the aspect that I'm waiting for is that inspiration and that joy, and I want to, I was going to say get back in the studio, but again, that's an old paradigm. I don't have to be in a studio to dance. I can be anywhere, and it's the freedom of that within what structure? What is the structure? And how do I dialogue with spirit through movement? Especially if I don't know the structure of it yet. Do I know the structure of it yet? I could. We do movement. We have an within Wildflower Fire and the training program that's offered, we learn And I have for close to 5 years now, the yogic energetic poses. So we focus on the 12 chakras and we use movement through sacred yoga and to express, to be an avenue for activation and cleansing of the energetic spaces within our body with the chakras. So if that is the structure of it, then how do I move into the freedom of it's not as simple as just teaching people the sequence, which the basis, the tuning sequence is the key ring. But there's that's not my calling. It could be the basis of it, but it's not the true activation. It's not for me. It's not what lights me up. It's something beyond that, or something under that, or deeper than that. And it's learning what that is. And learning what the movement is. But without movement, without stillness, you don't have movement. So there is a balance there. So there's something with that I should experiment with. I can't imagine anyone is, I'm not going to say it. Who cares? I'm doing this for myself. This is to release the throat. I do not need to feel self-conscious about anyone watching or not watching, because I am talking myself through whatever needs to be let out in order to access the true calling, or the fire within the calling, the spirit of my calling, the spirit within the movement. The spirit within the movement. Trying to feel that fire. I enjoy doing the yoga. I enjoy doing the key ring. I enjoy working with the chakras. But to me, I haven't yet found the flow of the spirit within the movement. I got this visual just now of speaking with spirit while I'm doing a sequence. Like, not verbally, like literally, they will say something and I will respond with my body, and I will be able to hear them and know what I'm saying in return. Oh my gosh. It's like Braille? No, Braille's written. It's like, what do you call it when you can't hear the deaf and they do sign language? It's like sign language. I've seen people, I don't know if anyone is, okay, I was going to say out there, but it's not. We're bringing spirituality back into the norm. This is normal, people. This may be a little bit beyond the normal, but more people are doing it, and sometimes it's happening spontaneously. Long story short, has anyone heard about light language? I'm sure many people have, but they use movement and sound. But they use movement. They use like sign language to communicate. Although most people I have seen channel it. So they're communicating spirit's communication through movement. But I think what I'm trying to do would be the inverse, right? Like trying to communicate with spirit with light language, so to speak, as opposed to trying to channel what they're saying. So it's different. That feels right. That feels more accurate. That's so interesting. Because I think the disconnect for me is I would like more communication, more dialogue. How do I do that in movement? But you do it because the movement is the dialogue, which I understand in dance, that's it. But in dance, you're communicating to an audience who isn't talking back. There is no dialogue. You may be communicating with, your colleagues on stage. Fair enough, but it's programmed, it's choreographed. It's not a conversation. It's a conversation, but it's a play. It's scripted, and it's practiced over and over and over again, so that you may feel the emotion of what you're trying to portray in the moment, but you may not, and you may just have to simply fake it, like act what it is, because you've done it so many times. It's like having a conversation with your best friend, the same conversation so many times. It loses its intensity, it loses its purity, it loses its energetic resonance, and it's about staying in alignment. So the conversation with spirit through movement is literally in the moment, but the structure would be the yogic training through the energy centers, through the key ring, through what Wildflower Fire is teaching. That's my structure of it. That's what I'm using as a lattice to, and that's what all trainees through our program, the Wildflower Fire program, uses. You must have a foundation. That's interesting. Okay, my throat hasn't gone away, but it's I don't really care now, because this is really, really helpful to understand what the heck I'm doing. Okay, so how do we get there? How do we get to if my native language is not English, which I find hilarious. I just love it when people say things in a way that makes you think differently. My native language is movement, then I'm going to communicate to spirit through movement. They can handle that. I mean, they communicate through visuals, through music, through words, through audio, through sensations, like all those senses do. Some people smell things as a way to communicate with spirit when something's not there or is there. I don't mean to insult anyone in spirit. Okay, so I communicate through spirit. It's a dialogue. How do I get to the dialogue? Do I just play around? Oh, I just got in my body, so I just got a visual. So I get visuals. So I did get a visual of the chakras. So we work with the 12 chakra system, and within sequences, the base sequence is the key ring to tune your body into the Gaian mind, into the earth herself, because she's moving on, like she's moving into a healthier version of herself. And if we want to stay here, which I do, present, we need to retune. Like you don't tune out of the crappy shit that's going on. You tune into, let me rephrase that. I don't need to swear. You don't tune out of child molestation and starvation and war and poverty and affluency that is astronomical, along with huge disparity in in the wealth, like the poor to the extremely rich. You don't tune out of that. You don't sort of try to get away from that. You tune into where she's going, where Mother Earth is going. You tune into the health, the freedom, the equality of feminine and masculine within ourselves, within our bodies, between our partners, between families, within communities, within the world. Like, it's fractal. You tune into that. So the tuning of the keyring allows the human body, through work, through determination, through commitment, through looking at your shadows and your shit and your joys and your grief, you tune into, through going through that, and there's offerings for that. Like, there's help to help you do that through Wildflower Fire. We have courses, we have training programs, we have all that. You tune into the healthy version of Mother Earth, which is where we want to be, because that's where she's going, if not already somewhat there. She's just waiting for us to catch up. So, where was I going with that? So, in doing so, the vision I just got when I'm trying to make the connection between communicating with spirit through movement, the 12 chakras represent different attributes of the human, through mind, body, spirit, through creature, angelic. You know, we're both. We're spirit and we're human, right? We're of the humus of the earth, and we are mind, body, spirit. And all of it needs to be attuned, in line. So within those chakras, we have attributes, and those attributes are different for every chakra, which obviously they have different wavelength and different, resonance. And so they express in different ways, through color, through the actual attributes that our mind can understand, and then through movements that we have, the yogic movements that are built into the offering through Wildflower Fire. And I'm sure there's other schools. I was going to say mystery schools, but they're no longer mystery. Like, it's time to get going and share this information and to help people retune, not tune away, retune. So if I focus on the attributes of the chakras, if I wanted to communicate with spirit through movement, I need to figure out how to do that with the chakras, right? So, okay, let's try this. Okay, we're going to try this. Well, there isn't one chakra that says hi. Okay, they don't need that. We need to, okay, what do I want to communicate to spirit? Loving relationship. So heart chakra, which is love, nurturing. Relationship would be sacral, right? It's being in relation to others, where it's intimacy and sexuality, but it's also just literally in relation to others. So anyone you walk down the street, you're in relation to them. Trees, anyone, anything with a consciousness. Nature is conscious, and you are in relation to them. So obviously knowing your boundaries and what works, but having a healthy, clear, loving relationship. So if I had loving relationship, so I could do, if I'm seated right now, which I am, I could do like heart opening movements, and maybe repetitive, maybe a bit of, if I went to child's pose and then camel, and then back to child's pose, I could play around with that. And then if I go into sacral, I could do Buddha belly or hip spins or do spinal twists on the ground. All of this you guys can learn. It's even on the YouTube channel, Wildflower Fire. There's yoga on our Wild Chakra Yoga channel. There's Thursdays yoga that teaches you the chakra yoga that helps you become familiar with this type of practice. But that is something that would be really good for me to focus on, because now I'm taking what I know, what I've learned, and then applying it in a way that I'm going to try to offer to spirit. I wonder, okay, I'm going to do it tonight or tomorrow, and I'm going to get back to you guys and let you know how it went, because I guess the place where my mind goes is, what are they going to say back? And how am I going to receive that? But I guess that's the next step.